Alright, so you've hit level 60 and you find yourself looking at different builds on, let's say, max roll or following Rob, one of the most insane Diablo 4 players on the planet. And I mean insane in a great way. You see these people doing millions of damage at a time. The numbers are just pumping. So of course you want to mimic that and do amazing work in Diablo 4. But you plug and play all of the paragon skills, all of your items have the right aspects on them, but for some reason you are not seeing the returns like Rob or like all of these people that use the max roll build for your character. Why is that? Most likely because you're neglecting one of the most important and crucial parts of handling your gear and making sure that your spec or your specialization is fully optimized to be as powerful as it possibly can be. In this quick guide, we're going to discuss tempering in Diablo 4 and why you might not be seeing those million numbers that you are hoping to see after following a build online. For new and veteran players alike, tempering can still be confusing. It can also be one of the most tedious and obnoxious things in Diablo 4 given that it's a lot of RNG and hoping for the best. But what is tempering? Tempering is an upgrade system for your gear that allows you to put specific affixes from different tempering manuals that you will find throughout your playtime, from caches, chests, and pretty much any content that you can complete in Diablo 4, you have the ability to get tempering manuals. You can use the tempering system for both leveling and endgame content, but usually people focus more on their tempers at endgame once they hit 60, since there's a lot of RNG involved and you only get a few chances to get the affix that you are currently looking for, which I will cover in just a bit. Tempers are also shared account-wide, and so are the materials needed to actually temper your gear, meaning that even if you have a fresh character, you can still utilize the manuals and the materials from your main character, or if you're starting fresh, then you will have to get your hands on both the manuals and the materials needed. There are 6 different types of tempers, and all different temper types can only be used on specific pieces of gear, which I will cover here. Weapons tempers can be used on weapons, totems, and focuses. Defensive tempers can be used on chest, helm, legs, amulets, and shield. Offensive can be used on amulets, weapons, totems, focus, gloves, and rings. Mobility can be used on boots and amulets. Utility on chest, helm, legs, amulets, gloves, boots, and shields. Only specific quality of items can be tempered, and that includes rare and legendary items. You cannot temper magic, unique, or mythic unique items. If you ever want to take a gander at the different tempers and manuals that you have collected over time, you can take a look at the Codex of Power under the Tempering Recipes tab. Temper manuals also come in 3 different qualities: magic quality, rare quality, and legendary quality. Magic being purple, rare being yellow, and legendary being orange, just as many other things in Diablo 4. And there's no level cap when it comes to using a specific temper quality. That means that if you have a lower level alternate character and your main character got the legendary temper manual, your low level character can still use it. There is also no difference in the amount of materials that you will need or the types of materials for using a higher level temper on a lower level character. If you are using a website like Maxroll to build your character out, they provide the tempers that you will need on the gear inside of their builds. Since I play a companion druid, I'm going to use that as an example. You would scroll down to stat priorities and item progression, and you will see the tempers available. The 2 tempers will be the last stats on that piece of gear on Maxroll, and you can see exactly what tempers you are aiming to get. When you're actually ready to temper your gear, there is going to be a cost involved. Luckily, it's not gold. You are only going to be using materials. These materials include rawhide, veiled crystals, coiling wards, forgotten souls, and baleful fragments. Easily, hands down, the hardest thing to get your hands on is the Forgotten Souls. It's worth noting that the armor type will determine which materials you will need to upgrade it using tempering. Ancestral legendaries usually need the Coiling Wards, Forgotten Souls, or the Baleful Fragments, and Forgotten Souls are easily one of the hardest ones to get your hands on. I do have a farm for that I will be posting soon, but that is the one that definitely trips some people up, is getting enough Forgotten Souls to temper all of their gear. So you have all of your materials and you are ready to temper. Well, what do you do? How do you do it? Assuming that when you got those temper manuals as a drop, you right-clicked them or selected them on console in order to learn them, because you do have to learn them. You have to use the item when it is in your inventory to actually learn the temper manual. You will then need to find a blacksmith, which for me, I go to Kiavashad, whatever you want to call it. I personally like to go there because I know where everything is, but you just need any run-of-the-mill blacksmith in-game. Each temper manual, if you hover over it, has different affixes available on it. However, when you are tempering your gear, those affixes are completely randomized. That means that it is all RNG based on on just random number generation as to what affix the game decides to give you. You can re-roll if you don't get the correct one, but you only have a set number of re-rolls, so that can make things a bit tricky and you end up bricking your gear, or meaning you can't add it again, you can't do it again, unless you have one of these scrolls. And even then, you only get one more shot at a specified number of re-rolls before you brick your item again. So it's really just about luck here. There is no set way to assure that you are going to get the affix that you want. And that is the beautiful dance of tempering your gear. When you're ready to temper, you will simply add your item into the box in the tempering tab at the blacksmith. It will show you which types of tempers that you have for that specified item, and you will also see the total number of re-rolls that you have available for that temper. Once your item is in the box, you will choose from one of these 6 respective categories below, and it'll show you which ones are available. They will be lit up and the others will be grayed out, and you will use your build guide, if that's what you are using, to pick the temper that you would like to add. If you are not using a build guide, then you would just pick one that you want to add to your gear in order to cater to your specific playstyle, whether that be more armor, more critical strike chance, whatever you're going for. You're going to have to read through the tempers very well to make sure that you're selecting the right one to get the possible roll that you're looking for. So always cross-reference with the build guide that you're using and the temper that you're choosing. You're just going to select the temper ability over and over and over again until you get the correct temper that you're looking for. But what if you don't? What if you don't get the temper that you were after? That would be called bricking your item. A bricked item basically means that you have run out of your tempering rolls and now you have nothing left to do. The scroll of restoration that I mentioned earlier can restore tempering charges on one item one time only. That means that you cannot use multiple scrolls of restoration on a singular piece of gear. You can only use it once to reset the number of rolls and try again. After that, well, that's it. You don't really get any more rolls after that unless you replace the piece of gear and start over. Again, you do get a reroll up to 5 times, and you will receive an additional reroll for each greater affix that is on the item. But once those run out and you've used the scroll of restoration, that item is bricked and you will need a new item if you do want to temper something else. You can have 2 different affixes on the same item, but they cannot be within the same category. So you would need to use a utility and a resource affix, just as an example, instead of using 2 utility affixes, if that makes sense. It's also worth noting that certain affixes have caps, meaning that once it meets a certain percentage threshold, you cannot go over that. A good example of that for my specific build is the Raven's active size. That has a threshold of a percentage, and once you hit that percentage, even if I added more tempers to my gear to increase the size, it would not allow me to after it caps at that 100%. So make sure to double check. You can always use Google and say, how much of a percentage can I have for Raven's active size in Diablo 4, just to be sure that you're not wasting rolls and attempting to get something that cannot be added onto your gear and give you some form of benefit. You've tempered your items, there's one step left. You're going to have to masterwork your items, because once you have 2 tempers on a singular item with 2 different affixes, you now unlock the ability to masterwork that item. Masterworking is another advanced option after you have added 2 different affixes through tempering, and it is usually reserved for endgame gear since it is quite costly and you really want to use it in gear that you plan on wearing for quite a while. But that is a different video. I will be covering masterworking, understanding how it works, just like I did for this video on tempering. That's going to do it for this guide on tempering in Diablo 4. Let me know how your rolls have gone. Have you gotten any really good affixes, or have you ended up bricking your gear all the time like I do? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you like the video, then like the video. And if you like my content in general, then please subscribe to my channel, because it means the absolute world to me. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!